Now, I want to talk to those of you who are woke and who are open to rational argument. A small minority, I accept. Because one of the tenets of wokeness is, of course, that your feelings matter more than the truth. But I believe in you. I believe there are those of you here who are woke, who are open to rational argument, so let me make one. We are told that your generation cares more than any other about one issue in particular, and that issue is climate change. We're told that many of you suffer from climate anxiety. You wish to save the planet. And for tonight, and tonight only, I will join you. I will join you in worshipping at the feet of Saint Greta of climate change. Let us all accept right here, right now, that we are living through a climate emergency and our stocks of polar bears are running extremely low. I join you in this view. I truly do. Now, what are we to do about this huge problem facing humanity?
Konstantin Kisin tackles woke climate activism with a touch of sarcasm. Let's explore his points.
You know, they call themselves liberals. They're not liberal. Liberalism isn't about an inability to tolerate other opinions. It's the opposite, right? You're supposed to tolerate and respect other opinions and agree to disagree. We've lost this in society because a small group of people, but very vocal and very angry about everything all the time, they are driving an agenda which, if we go down that road, will be the end of a democratic society as we know it. So I see myself humbly as trying to defend democracy. Genuinely. I know, and humility is not something that comes naturally to me, but genuinely trying to defend what democracy really is and trying to educate these wokies about what real liberalism is, what democracy actually means, what free speech means. Free speech is not about you in an echo chamber all agreeing with each other. As Churchill said, free speech is about listening to views you just don't agree with, but allowing people to have different views.
Piers Morgan discusses the impact of wokeness on society. What's being lost?
Debunking the tradwife movement. I mean, are you joking? It's almost like these people work for like
Lately, I've been seeing this
corporations, right? And you know, that they're trying to tell everyone, you know, hey, you must work and pay taxes into the system so your government can give it to more people that don't need it or deserve it. We need you to go to work so we can send more money to Ukraine. I mean, like, it's hilarious to me. And they say tradwife will never catch on, not with the cost of living in the UK. Well, you make exceptions. And yeah, it isn't financially viable for everybody. That's just the fact, you know, the fact of the matter is. But you see these comments, what I find most concerning about this tradwife trend is the women are promoting it is likely enough social media following to make their own money with it, which therefore offers them a safety net, a financial independence to fall back on. So what she's saying is the scariest part about these women who are stay-at-home moms is that they're also successful. That's what this woman's biggest fear is.
A YouTuber shares his views on how some feminists critique traditional wife roles. Is there a balance to be found?
That's true. He's right. I'm being honest with you.
Well, wokeism is a fundamentalist religion.
For sure.
And that's exactly right. It really is. And
community involvement.
By the way, when you start talking about being traditional, like you just said, what you are labeled now is far right.
Yes.
They have hijacked the narrative. People get behind narratives. It's the story you tell. That's really what it's about. And you have to take back that story. You've got to fight. You've got to have the intellectual architecture to mount a defense against that. This idea that the United States is a patriarchy and an oppressive imperialist regime is not true. It's actually just not true. You've got to mount that defense, and you've got to do it in a colorful and even humorous way. The problem with defending tradition is we tend to get very sort of boxy about it, where the other side is playing loose and frivolous with it. I don't know. We've got to take back sort of the story, and we've got to make it colorful so people can get behind it, because they have won that for now.
You know who it's...
Woke is their religion. Brian Callen critiques woke ideology for its cultural impact in America. Let's dive into his arguments.
Orders like the Netflix adaptation of Overwatch. They spent way too much money on it and took every last character to the ironing board.
This is just a worse version of, like, Overwatch when it came out was better than this. Like, how did this get greenlit? You ain't never gonna see a girl from OnlyFans cosplaying this at anime convention. I tell you that. This for modern audience. If the modern audience is a golden corral, no fan service either. It's not even about having fan service. It's about having a character that people want to be. Nobody wants to do this. You want to be one of those people, you go to Walmart and just take your card and run around with your cart. You're going to play Concord. It's pretty much the same thing. You're going to see the same people. Why would anybody want to be this? Like, this looks like a background character from Hellboy 2.
It's man or lady. Wrong! Neither, you bigoted son of a
Decided? What the heck? Who the is this for? Why would you have a hero shooter and all the heroes look weird? Like, who the wants to have a hero shooter? Like, yeah, we're gonna go pick out, 6 people from Walmart and we're gonna put them in a game. Well, which one do you want to be? Well, I tell you one thing, I want to be at Target. I want to be somewhere else.
Discussion on a video game that flopped due to woke themes. What can the gaming industry learn from this?
Now, I know there are guys out there thinking, oh, International Women's Day? Why don't we have an International Men's Day? God bless you, Twitter. Well, you're in luck, because you do. It's actually on November 19th. But you wouldn't know that because you're too busy celebrating it every other day of the year.
Why do I do this to myself? Why do I do this? I'm just doubting my own life choices.
Matt Walsh finds humor in a woke feminist comedians act. Sometimes laughter is the best response.
This is Rachel Ziegler, your new Snow White, and if you thought that this movie was gonna be good, right? If you were mentally insane and you believe that the new Snow White live-action movie was gonna be good, get a load of this, okay? Because listen, they're not even trying to hide it anymore, right? They're not trying to hide the fact that these movies are now tools to insert their own ideologies, their woke ideas, all that shit, right? Listen to what little Rachel here has to say.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince. And
Knock it off, Disney. Seriously, is this a joke now? I mean, what are they trying to do here? What are they trying to do? Listen, I honestly think that Disney is just hell-bent on losing money at this point, you know?
Count Izzy discusses Rachel Zegler's comments on the woke version of Disney's Snow White. What's the takeaway?
Teaching people that they're victims is so incredibly damaging and so incredibly dangerous. They did an experiment with a group of women, and they put scars on their faces, and they told these women that they're going into a job interview, and the purpose of the experiment is to find out whether people with facial disfigurements face discrimination. They showed them the scars in the mirror, and as they led them out of the room, they said, we're just going to touch it up a little bit. And as they touched it up, they removed the scarring completely. So the women went into the job interview thinking that they are scarred, but actually being their normal selves. And the result of the experiment is that those women then came back reporting massively increased level of discrimination. Many of them came back with comments that the interviewer had made that they felt were referencing their facial disfigurement. And this is why I think this ideology of victimhood is so dangerous, because if you preach to people constantly that we're all oppressed, then that primes people to look for that.
Konstantin Kiesin shares why embracing victimhood in woke culture can be harmful. Insightful perspectives ahead.
It's a boy! This one has a vulva. It's a girl! Congratulations! Whoa. Let's hit the brakes, people. The way your body looks on the outside is only part of the story. What? Stay with me, gang. This is important. Hi, little one. Your sex refers to your physical body parts, remember? But there is also something called gender, which is how you feel inside your body and who you know yourself to be.
Pause. You know what that's called? That's called a personality. We need to just get rid of this idea of gender and just have personality. There's male if you have a there's women if you have a There's intersex if you intersex, and then we keep it pushing. Other than that, it's literally your personality.
And your gender, how you feel on the inside, doesn't always match the sex you were called when you were born.
Okay.
Let's say you were born with a and you feel like a boy inside. In that case, your sex and your gender match.
Well, what if you were born with a and you know you're a girl inside, not a boy?
Okay, let's unpack the little that we have so far. We're talking about people who cannot vote, cannot drink, cannot drive, can't do any of these things, can't consent to none of that. But we're saying that in their head, they know for sure they are that gender. How about we just let them grow up?
YouTuber Amir reacts to children's cartoons with woke themes. How are they shaping young minds?
Blair White is another one of those ultra-privileged trans people that I will never understand because she hasn't struggled like most of us trans people have struggled, and so she just doesn't fully understand. She has a lot of really problematic views, and why I think she's worse than Caitlyn Jenner is because she spreads misinformation, like literally fake news. But she also, just has like really strong opinions that are very transphobic, that are very problematic, that are very racist, that are very ableist, and that are very classist. And I, think that she's the worst representation of what a trans person can be.
And you may also recognize that very same TikToker as the trans woman who was banned from the White House for stripping. So, I'm not gonna say that's God. I'm not gonna say that's karma, but what I am gonna say is I paid for a voodoo priestess to make something really bad happen to you.
Blair White addresses criticism from a woke transgender individual who disagrees with her. Discussion time.
It's that thing you experience as a trans person when the person, usually you're getting food or you're at a store or whatever, people, rather than be directly transphobic to you, they just kind of ignore you and do the absolute bare minimum. So we're gonna talk about that and how to deal with it. Avoidant transphobia. It's a weird topic because it's not the kind of thing that people really think of when they think of transphobia. You're used to like the in-your-face, the misgendering, people being mean to you.
Oh God,
But
not the
in a lot of
misgendering.
ways,
If you called this girl a dude or a dude a girl.
biggest harm someone can do is
which is this?
pretend like
This is a
they
guy
exist.
pretending to be a girl, right? Yeah.
Because what they're really saying in those instances is you don't exist to them.
Get over yourself. These people. If I just put on some lipstick and went to McDonald's, that does sound pretty good, actually. You guys want to go to McDonald's?
Dave Rubin gives his take on woke culture seeping into TikTok. What's changing?
Did you know that Native Americans taught white people how to bathe? And they used deodorant and breath fresheners, and they shampooed their hair. They bathed with cold water, like in the picture above, and they took sauna steam baths in what are called temazcal. Actually, my family has one. And when the Spanish first arrived, the Aztecs burned incense everywhere they went, and the Spanish thought it was out of respect, but the Aztecs probably couldn't bear the stench of smelly medieval Europeans. And it's recorded that a Wampanoag member named Tisquantum tried to teach the European colonizers how to bathe themselves.
It is true the Aztecs were really, really clean. Also, they used to carve the hearts out of people en masse by the tens of thousands. So I'm not sure how we weigh that in terms of good hygiene. So thumbs up on the cold bathing and the saunas, thumbs down on the ritual sacrifice of human beings, including children. As far as the Wampanoag being cleaner than the Europeans, that's true. And the Europeans were super dirty.
Must be a king. Come on. He hasn't got shit all over him.
But the idea that the Europeans learned cleanliness from the Aztecs and the Wampanoags is historically incorrect. There had been a lot of bathing on the European continent well before that. I mean, if you go back to Roman times, people used to regularly go to bathhouses, right? I mean, the public bathhouses were a major thing in ancient Rome. The actual advent of bathing in Europe as a widespread practice really didn't begin until the 19th century, and that was because there were medical doctors who started thinking, hey, maybe it's a good idea for us to wash ourselves. It wasn't like they went and visited the Aztecs, and they're like, oh, you know what? These guys who are carving the hearts out of people, they really bathe well, though. They smell great. I don't know why you would connect those two things. Like, what is that? That's strange.
Ben Shapiro clarifies historical facts about the Aztecs in response to a wokey TikTok claim. Education or myth?
Dear white women, listen. You're only playing this if you value your life, is to shut the up. Listen exclusively to black, brown,
Oh gosh. We're off to a great start here. First of all, what's with the threatening nature of that video? It's coming off very aggressive, but I guess we're accustomed to that when it comes to the whole Black Lives Matter movement. It's very weird to say that you should exclusively listen to any one group of people. Not all Black women think alike. I wonder if she would go through and look at my videos and see what I have to say and think that I'm a Black woman that needs to be listened to by other white women. Probably not. And of course, we have all of the gendered language that is being thrown on there, and what she couldn't do as a blue-haired leftist, she did as a blue lipsticked.
Amala reacts to a TikTok of a blue-painted woman. Why did it scare her? Let's unpack the message.
The school district now is a freaking nightmare. I go to enroll my child, and my kiddo is standing right there. I hand them the birth certificate, and I say, see right here, this is his. He is a boy, he goes by he, him. I had no issues at his past school, and I don't expect to have any issues here. And I swear it was like Karen, the transphobic secretary, was just waiting on us that day. She said she wouldn't put my child in the school system as his name because it has to match a birth certificate. But again, had no issues at the last school. I told her I absolutely would not enroll my child as a female. And she said, you will and you are. She enrolled my child as a female, then sent mail to my house with my child's dead name on it. At this point, my child is supposed to start school on Monday and is enrolled in the system as a female. Every single teacher in the school knew about my child, and the students were told a little girl was coming to class. This is a visual representation of my mood. Like and follow for part 3.
Yeah, that's scary. That's actually just scary. I mean, if you check on that child in 18 years, that child is going to be so messed up, and the fact that this is on the internet and nothing's going to be done about it is the worst part of it. Like, people are basically saying, I'm abusing my child, I'm gonna make a TikTok about abusing my child, and nothing's gonna happen to me because we've mainstreamed child abuse.
Candace Owens shares her critical thoughts on woke culture's influence. What are the consequences?
To all the white, cisgendered, heterosexual people in the room, don't speak at all during this meeting. You've had your time for long enough. You know, history has favored you. Just be quiet. And I went, that doesn't sound right. And I looked around the room that I was in, and people were nodding and agreeing, some even smiling for what she just said. And that night I went home to my white family, my conservative white grandparents who had taken care of me my entire life, made sure I went to school, made sure I had a job, made sure I got scholarships. And I thought, doesn't quite make sense to hold these two beliefs in my brain that white people are inherently racist while I have this family that's taking care of me.
Amala discusses how certain woke ideologies can perpetuate racism. What are the implications?
If a guy took me on a date to one of these chain restaurants for the first date, he would not hear from me again. Oh my God, you're shallow. All you care about is money. Oh my God, like you want me to take you to the stores in Vegas and open them after hours so you can pick out 12 bags. No, I understand that I can come off as bougie. That's not what this is. You can't take someone to a chain. You just can't.
The women who complain about going to a chain restaurant are the exact ones who deserve to be taken to a chain restaurant. But the women who are okay with it and don't complain about it are the exact ones you should not take to a chain restaurant.
Discussing a claim that a walkie feminist overreacted about a chain restaurant, what's the real issue?
Probably up until 2015, in all these Western countries, there was this battle for gay rights and gay marriage. Every country, pretty much, in the West, passed those laws. What happens with all these nonprofit organizations that were fighting for this? They don't close the doors and say, we won, good job everybody, we achieved our objective. They move on to the next objective. They have to keep donations flowing, they need to keep the doors open, keep everyone employed. And for the left, really when I say the left, I'm referring to the far left. What they want is perpetual revolution. They don't want a revolution. They want to exist in a constant state of revolution. And they're always looking to introduce the next concept and to normalize that. So when gay rights were won, the new objective for all of these nonprofits, and there are hundreds of millions of dollars we're talking about here pushing this, their new objective became trans rights, and they've been successful in conflating trans rights with gay rights.
Chris highlights how nonprofits and the far left may be pushing agendas. What's at stake?
The thing that we always have to remember is that the vote is in the hands of the people.
Yeah.
And the people decided they're not going to lay down and be told what to do. They're going to get out and make their own futures. However this turns out, people are saying, you're not going to tell me what I'm doing. I'm going to do what I do because this is my right as an American.
But just
we'll be right back and talk more about it.
Now, of course, what Whoopi just said made literally no sense.
the vote is in the hands of the people. Well, obviously. And the people decided they're not going to be told what to do. Okay. Instead, they're saying, I'm going to do what I do because this is my right as an American. So, Whoopi, what precisely are they being told to do that they're not doing in what they are actually doing? Are they not producing a voter ID? Are they not properly registered? Did they fail signature verification? What are they being told they have to do that they are not doing in what they are actually doing? You see, this is the absurdity you have to fall into when Georgia passes a supposed voter suppression law that in turn results in record voter turnout. And to make it even worse, the vast majority of that record turnout is actually coming from the Republican side, not the Democrats. So these are actually the voters Whoopi despises. Just another day in Whoopi's attempt at educating all of us.
Dr. Steve provides a well-reasoned counter to Whoopi Goldberg's views from her show, The View.
But at some point, if you're a young man, I think it's good experience to live on your own for a while before you get married and have a family of your own. Young women, I think, don't necessarily ever have to live on their own. It's perfectly fine for a young woman to go right from living with her parents to living with her husband. But even in that case, she needs to be contributing to the household when she's living with her parents. She cannot be infantilized. She cannot be allowed to be like a lazy bump on a log. You can't, male or female, you cannot allow that. And because, yes, multi-generational households are traditional. That's what you find. You find it in many cultures still today, and historically, that's all there was. But what do you think was happening in a multi-generational household out on the frontier in the 1880s or whenever? Everybody was working. Everybody was pitching in. Everybody was up at dawn doing something. You didn't have a 23-year-old physically capable adult child sitting around all day while the parents did everything. That just didn't happen. It couldn't happen. It would not have happened. It wouldn't be allowed. I mean, if you were a 12-year-old back then, that wouldn't have been allowed. You had to contribute, even as a child. But as an adult, especially so. So that, when we talk about multi-generational households, traditionally, that's what we mean. It means that
Matt Walsh expresses concern over parents influencing their 18-month-old child's identity. Should there be limits?
Cause and effect cycle that blue democratic cities are seeing from their anti-police policies and the beliefs that they enacted after the 2020 riots. Now, it's happening all over the country, but one of the most notable examples, and one that we've talked about at length before because this has happened so often, is how San Francisco is turning into a business ghost town. Here's one story that we did not cover back in June. Old Navy to Nordstrom, half of retailers fleeing downtown San Francisco. They wrote, as about 24 stores have announced plans to vacate San Francisco as its crime issues remain unresolved, retail crime has been a hot topic that has proven difficult to solve. Some such retailers, which include Old Navy, Banana Republic, Crate & Barrel, Amazon Go, Saks Off Fifth, Anthropologie, and Office Depot, have issued statements explaining inventory shrink and other foot traffic problems that made business in the area untenable. Foot traffic problems, that's a really nice way to say unbridled crime. That's the politically correct way to say that. Now, it is not just the businesses suffering. Take it from a San Francisco resident herself.
I'm literally shaking right now. I was just getting groceries and I live in San Francisco and I never really feel fully safe. If you live in San Francisco, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And I just got groceries. I'm walking out of the store and this guy is walking past me and says, "Move, you stupid bitch." And he spits in my face, spits all over my face. And then I say, "Excuse me, did you just spit in my face?" And he says, "Move or I'll rip you." There's also people everywhere and everyone's just walking by because they're like, I can't handle something else in San Francisco. It's always something else. I don't even know why I'm posting this. If you live in San Francisco, do you feel this way all the time? I don't feel safe, ever. I literally never feel safe. It's better when it's daylight, but nighttime, no, not leaving my house.
Imagine intentionally living someplace like that.
Brett Cooper discusses why some companies are moving away from liberal cities. What's driving the change?
I hate New Year's resolutions because for me, they've always been about weight loss. I don't think there's been a single year where I haven't said, you know what, I'm gonna lose weight this year. And I know a lot of y'all can relate to that. That is literally about to go into my eye. At the beginning of every year, there's just this immense pressure to be a better version of myself, which means a skinnier version of myself. Also, I ripped off my acrylics, so ignore my nubby nails. Anyways, I no longer believe that a skinnier version of myself is a better version of me. But what I hate seeing on my FYP, my timeline, whatever, is everyone else saying that. Because frankly, it's just not true.
The world does not revolve around you.
If it's on your For You page, that algorithm knows everything. Maybe those messages you need to hear. Other people wanting to lose weight, other people wanting to work out and be a better version of themselves, become that girl or whatever they're calling it, wake up early, go to the gym, make their damn avocado toast, that should not infiltrate your life.
Skinnier does not mean healthier, does not mean better. In fact, when I was at my smallest and had just lost 70 pounds, I was my least healthy.
She just said being healthier does not mean better. Objectively, being healthier does mean being better.
Brett Cooper talks about the challenges of promoting fat positivity on TikTok. How do we balance health and acceptance?
Be very careful of what you say about Israel. Any believer going against Israel, you are making yourself an enemy against God.
If the U.S. and the European nations are so for Israel, they should give them land from Europe or land from the United States to live on. They should let them make a country there, not on Palestine. The Bible does not say anything about Israel because Israel was created in 1948 when the British and the United Nations decided to fight a war with Palestine and cut that country in half to create an ethno-state for Ashkenazi Jewish people.
So the First Lady, I guess, is arguing a perspective known as dispensationalism, which is a view very prominent among American evangelical Protestants. The argument that there is a distinction between Israel and the church, which is contrary to the traditional view, which is that the church is the new Israel, that is the continuation of Israel. And then the lady comes in to disagree with the First Lady, and she says, this is BS, man. The Palestinians have been in the land since before time, and they have the nationalist right to this land. And you say, well, why is that the case? Why do the Palestinians, why do the Palestinian Muslims have it? Islam didn't even exist until the 7th century. So why do they get the right to the Holy Land? And this woman's answer would obviously be, well, because they conquered it. Okay, well then what about the State of Israel? You're saying that, well, the State of Israel is unjust because they came into the Holy Land and conquered it in 1948. All right, but you implicitly grounded the right of the Palestinian Muslims to have the territory on the very same right of conquest. So now it looks like there's a double standard, and this lady just doesn't want there to be a Jewish state there.
Michael Knowles addresses theories from pro-Palestine advocates about Israel's existence. Let's look at the facts.
Let's get started.
Allow me.
Thank you.
Probably not France. What? It's obviously someplace in the Anglosphere. So it's either the UK, South Africa, or Australia, or New Zealand. I'm really confused. It's not just that I'm trying to guess the country. I don't get the commercial. It was kind of abrupt and weird and eerie, and I don't totally get the message. I'm gonna say Australia. Australian Human Rights Commission, all right. I mean, the accent. It was really...
Michael Knowles humorously tries to guess the country from a woke PSA. Can you guess it too?
And someone will sue them for discrimination. And so they hire people like Robin DiAngelo to give them the cover to continue to do business. They feel like, okay, fine. So for 20 grand, now I can say when I'm sued by some upset employee that we gave everybody the anti-racism training. Okay, so Robin DiAngelo was doing this training, and we have some screen caps from this particular training. Here are some of the screen caps. Confronting racism, understanding what it means to be white, challenging what it means to be racist. Solid stuff here from Robin DiAngelo. Okay, to be less white. Okay, so here's how, right, we don't want you to be white. We want you to be less white. Which, okay, this isn't racist at all, by the way. To be less white is to be less oppressive, be less arrogant, be less certain, be less defensive, be less ignorant, be more humble, listen, believe, break with apathy, break with white solidarity. Now we need to take a moment here to explain what exactly Robin DiAngelo is saying. Again, this is Coca-Cola employees being subjected to this overt racism. Because if you're white, this means that you're oppressive, arrogant, certain, defensive, ignorant, humble. You must, not humble. You need to listen and believe. You're apathetic, and you have white solidarity if you're white. So you need to be less white. I don't know how.
Ben Shapiro reacts to a woke training course. What's so insane about it? Let's find out.
Like there are different categories of people who transition, and we kind of talk about them like they're all the same, but they're not. And you can kind of break it down by age. Like there's the very young children, a 5-year-old, and we hear that, oh, my 5-year-old is trans. That's 1,000% the parent just deciding they're going to do that to the child, because no child even knows what that is. So you have to suggest that to them. Then you have the adolescent girls, and Abigail Schreier's written about this in her great book. And that's the social contagion. They pick it up from society. But then there's the older men who are adults and decide one day that they're women. And for so many of them, this is a fetish. I mean, this is like the thing we're not allowed to say or acknowledge, but it's totally true. That for most of these older men who decide that I'm a woman, it's a fetish. It's autogynephilia. They're enchanted by the idea of themselves as women, and so now we have to participate in your fetish. Like you get off on the idea of being seen as a woman, and I have to be a participant in that. It's really degrading and to all of us.
Matt Walsh discusses the narcissism he perceives in the use of gender pronouns. What does it reveal about our society?